Well, welcome to the very first show of FYI with Barry ZeVAN. I don't know who he is, but I am Barry ZeVAN. No, we wanted to really thank CCX Television for beginning this new series of informational programs about everything from health to politics to entertainment to television to radio to anything that we can find that will be of more informational value to you. And wanted to explain, because this is our first show, the theme music I chose was called Carriage and Pears, from a film that starred Farley Granger way back in the day, but also way back in the day when I was a teenager in New York. There was a radio show on WCBS radio called The John Henry Fox Show, and John Henry Fox's theme song was our theme song, is our theme song, and I just became enchanted with it because it was so classy, and it was also peaceful, and it was quality and wholesome, and so that's the reason for the music, Carriage and Pair. I'm thrilled to say our first guest on our first show is a lady named Pamela Curlee, and Pamela is the co-founder of the Masgutova Foundation and also the Svetlana Masgutova Educational Institute, both based in Orlando, Florida, and in Warsaw, Poland. And so, Pamela, welcome.
Thank you, Barry.
You're welcome. It's been a joy to know you for 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah.
And first of all, I guess what I have to ask is, what are SMEI and the Masgutova Foundation?
Mm-hmm. These are two organizations that we have set up to bring some new, very inspiring information to the world. And we are doing it through these entities of the foundation and of the SMEI, which stands for Svetlana Masgutova Educational Institute.
Mm-hmm. And then we also have a video, I think we can see right now.
Yes. It will summarize our program, the concept behind it, and how it works.
Okay, let's
yes.
watch.
Okay.
Welcome to MNRI, a comprehensive set of programs serving hundreds of thousands of people on 6 continents. M stands for Masgutova. N stands for neurosensory motor. R stands for reflex. I stands for integration. Dr. Svetlana Masgutova, creator and founder of the Masgutova Method, began her research into this work in the 1980s, based on extensive work she provided to victims of man-made and natural disasters. What did she discover? She discovered the missing link. She found that working through subcortical neurological pathways allowed a connection between specific and precise sensory input and the universal genetically coded motor response patterns. Simply stated, when the sensory system, such as touch, sound, or a movement, sends signals to the brain, the information is processed and sent back with instructions for motor movement patterns. The MNRI program adds the base to the triangle, creating and ensuring clear and accurate communication between the sensory and motor systems. How is this achieved? We work to integrate the primary reflex patterns with the subcortical pathways, including the extrapyramidal nerve system and lower motor neurons. These primary reflexes begin in utero and should complete their myelinization and maturation by the age of 2. These primary reflexes eventually serve as pillars and become the neurological foundation of everything we do. Here's a metaphor which demonstrates integrated reflexes. Babinski, foundational for grounding and stability. Spinal galant, foundational for flexibility in the spine. Spinal Perez, foundational for postural control. Asymmetrical tonic neck reflex, foundation for auditory skills. Symmetric tonic neck reflex, foundational for visual skills. Leg cross flexion extension, foundational for walking. However, if these basic reflexes do not mature and integrate, or if they're inhibited, the support system is missing. Birth traumas, genetic or environmental influences, Accidents or illnesses will prevent or damage the development of these pillars of life. We are left with compensations. Would you like to know how we work with these reflexes? Here's one simplified example. We simply hold and activate the sensory stimulus while simultaneously teaching the correct motor pattern. For grasp, the sensory stimulus is at the top of the palm, and the correct motor pattern response should look like this. Sensory plus reflex motor pattern equals blueprint and foundation for writing, typing, drawing, and higher levels of dexterity. Is it okay with you if simple is profound? One final question. Why is the Masgutova method so successful? We start from the ground up. You wouldn't build your house on a foundation that isn't stable, would you? Neither would we. The traditional approach to any form of physical, mental, genetic, or birth trauma recovery is through the cortex. This relies heavily on verbal questions or instructions or explanations. This is synonymous to building a house by starting on the roof, which represents the cortex. In contrast, the Masgutova method is a subcortical approach to establish the mandatory foundation to build with stability from the bottom up. This strengthens the nervous system, stress resilience, and neuroplasticity. That's why MNRI works with everybody. Whatever your age, whatever your challenge, whether you're working with learning, developmental, or speech delays, or if you're recovering from an injury such as a concussion, stroke, or a traumatic event in your life, you will want to return to the foundation for support. The Masgutova Foundation. Find out more about the missing link at www.masgutovafoundation.org or www.masgutovamethod.com.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, and we also have to say that there's another element to the Educational Institute, and it's the Masgutova Neurosensory Motor Reflex Integration System, MNRI.
That's correct.
And which is referenced, I think, many times, or will be referenced many times on this program. How was the missing link created, and where did it start?
The missing link, we've been called the missing link by people who take our training, and I heard it so many times because we teach classes around the world to thousands of people, different professionals, occupational therapists, physical therapists, medical personnel, massage therapists, and parents as well. And we hear over and over again, oh my, this is the missing link. This is what I have been looking for my whole life. Not my whole life, but for a long time. And what happens is that we have offered a program that is working with a sensory system, and that gives information to the brain. The brain will process that. That will send information to the muscles, and that's called the motor response. But the connection that Dr. Masgutova has made is a link between the sensory and the motor, so that they are both functioning in a very accurate way. So this is actually bringing coordination, if you will, through the sensory motor cortex, so that the brain is giving the correct motor response to the sensory stimulus. This is very important for development. This is very important for learning. This is very important for processing. Now, the thing that makes our program different, the thing that makes us qualify for the term the missing link, is because we are working actually at a subcortical level of the brain, and we're working with the extrapyramidal nerve tract and the lower motor neurons. This actually allows for the most basic level of communication with the neurological system to be developed, and when that is developed, matured, and integrated, then we have a very strong foundation for literally everything that we do. Many times approaches will look at challenges, and they will approach it through the intellect, and they will approach it through talking about things or telling people to do something, or giving directions that are all verbal and cognitive at the cortex level. We work with the brainstem level. And the thing, Barry, that is really fun about that is that it is so primary. We actually work with primary reflexes. And the brainstem actually does not have a clock, it does not have a calendar, so it doesn't know when events are over. The purpose for the reflexes are for protection and survival. So we use this approach for many different things, many different challenges that are present in the world today.
And you work on so many things, autism, cerebral palsy,
Right.
Down syndrome.
Right.
You actually helped me with my neuropathy. I used to have very bad neuropathy in my feet from type 2 diabetes, as a
Right.
matter of fact. And just one simple exercise has made it literally disappear, mostly.
Yeah, it was more than one simple exercise. We worked for quite some time, but yes, I'm glad it worked.
For me, anything that works is simple.
Yes, yeah, that's actually a slogan that we have, that simple is profound. Yes, that's true.
But one other thing that is really current in today's world is the memory of the Las Vegas shootings.
Yes.
And you work with people who have experienced severe trauma, any kind of trauma. Really, do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, this is very exciting work because this is actually the foundation of the entire program. Dr. Masgutova, Dr. Svetlana Masgutova, is the creator of our program, and her background is in psychology, developmental psychology. She was a professor at a university in Moscow, and she responded to a lot of challenges, man-made and made by nature, stresses and catastrophes that happened in Russia, the Chernobyl event and the Baku War. There was a very historic train accident in the city of Ufa in Russia, and she responded to this by going to work with children who had been very severely burned. And during all of this work of working with trauma, she, in her very astute observation skills, noticed that the people in trauma were reverting back to movements that are based in what we call primary reflexes. And these primary reflexes are actually reflexes that are present in the first 2 years of life. Their purpose is for protection, their purpose is for development. And for if we are ever in a traumatic situation, these movements will come out as a reflex in order to protect us and keep us safe. So she noticed the children responding with these movements, and she was quite well trained and had a very extensive background in reflexes and reflex movements, and realized that the body was using these to survive the trauma. Now that is very wise during the event of trauma. However, we can get stuck in that level of neurological development or neurological functioning. So in other words, we can get stuck in these primary movements, which are basically better served to be simply foundations for our development, and not to be working all the time for protection. So she noticed a lot of these movements in the children, and she started observing them and started moving with them, and started experimenting to find out that if she were to show the body how to move in connection with a sensory stimulus, that this would actually allow these reflexes to become integrated again, that they wouldn't need to be serving in a hyperactive or in a dysfunctional manner. And so she developed a program in the 1980s for working with trauma, and worked a lot with psychological trauma. She then started thinking, if this works so well with psychological trauma, it must also work with physical trauma. So she started working with children with developmental delays like cerebral palsy, with developmental challenges, learning challenges, and found the same results. Now, the reason that it works is because we're working again at such a very primary level of a reflex circuit, and at a very primary level of the neurology. And when we can help the body to reintegrate and rebalance this circuitry movement, these impulses and stimulus that are sent through the nervous system, then it can serve again to help us. We use this concept in working with people who have had traumatic situations, and we have had a lot of success working with Newtown, Connecticut, and the folks from Sandy Hook. And for example, one child, when we went there to work, one child, the first child that we worked with, was unable to go to her own room because of fear. Now that fear is actually based, yes, on the mind, but it's also based on the physiology. It's based on how the information is being processed neurologically. And if it's processed through these primary reflexes, and these primary reflexes become active or hyperactive or hypersensitive, then the whole system can get stuck in a reaction. So we worked with this little girl, and she had not been able to go to her own room and sleep for 3 months. She had slept with her parents. And we worked with her for about an hour and a half, and she finally felt confidence again. She reconnected with her ability to feel confident, and so she went into her own room and slept fine, and has done so ever since. We worked with the families in Newtown. We worked with the families in Louisiana after the floods there. We worked with the Philippines. We went to the Philippines. And the thing that is most exciting is that our approach to trauma relief is very different. We're not going through the mental reliving anything. We don't need to tell stories. We don't need to go through the cognitive part of it. What we do is that we focus in on how did the body react. Mm-hmm. And then we work to bring the body back into a state of integration so that it's functioning normally. It's almost like rebooting, if you will. It's like rebooting the system so that it doesn't have to stay in protection longer than necessary.
Yeah, I've been the recipient of part of that, mm-hmm. Too. Recently, my younger daughter mm-hmm. passed away, mm-hmm. and at age 54 from ovarian cancer. And a lot of what you suggested for me has helped me mm-hmm. Have the healing mm-hmm. process begin
mm-hmm.
mentally.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating that what you've described physically mm-hmm. Can help us emotionally.
Yes, yes. Isn't that fun? It's interesting that the mind and body work together so closely. Actually, in the beginning days in Russia, Dr. Masgutova had studied a lot of information from Vygotsky, Luria, Bernstein, and several people that she calls neurological giants, and they all spoke of the connection of the mind and the body, and how, especially how these primary reflexes will strongly affect how we act emotionally, mentally, and physically.
How would a person learn how to help people with your method? You have core specialists, and how would a person, first of all, why would a person want to do that? I assume because they want to help people.
Yes.
But how would one become a core specialist?
Yes, we have people who are very highly trained in our work, and to become a core specialist, we train people who have a college degree in a program that is oriented towards the physiology, so they have a strong background in the physiology. So we have occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech therapists, medical personnel, and massage therapists who take our training. And they take 11 classes, 4 advanced classes, and then around 250 hours of clinical training. And then they are trained to help us travel around when we're reaching out to different communities to respond to trauma. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we have, Dr. Masgutova just returned from Serbia, where she presented a video that she has created for people to look at if they are experiencing any trauma. And she shared this in Serbia with 75 people who work with torture victims. And this is just a video that people can watch, and it's a video of movements that they can do that will help to begin the process of integrating and integrating the primary reflexes so that we can go back to find a stable life again. And so that video is available, and I highly recommend that anybody who knows anybody who's in trauma to look at that video and watch it and just follow the movements and do those on a regular basis. It will be a nice beginning step to bring relief after trauma.
Yeah, I think on screen we are actually seeing how people can watch that. The link,
yes,
link
exactly.
to it is,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Mm-hmm.
And people should know you have, even though you're worldwide, you really are global.
Yes, we are very global.
You
yes,
have a strong presence here in Minnesota.
Yes,
too.
yes, very strong in Minnesota. Very strong in Minnesota, all over the United States. In Europe, it is just growing at a record speed. And we're beginning to reach out to India and South Africa, and we're just now getting some classes set up in South America. And it's because, Barry, this work is working with universal genetic codes that every single person has. And so because it is a universal code, it's a universal neurological net, it will help every single person.
That's wonderful. Are you able to help yourself sometimes? I mean, if you've found yourself in a particular situation, are you able to actually do something that will help you get out of that situation?
Personally?
Yes.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I use this work all the time.
Okay. Okay.
I'm one of my best, most enthusiastic people.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That old saying, physician, heal thyself.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. Yeah, if it doesn't work for yourself, you might want to look at it again.
Yes. Well, what do you envision for the future now for the Masgutova Foundation and just anything connected with it?
Right. We are very happy to be reaching out to the world to get this information to everybody. We receive emails all the time from all over the world saying, I have a child with cerebral palsy, I have a child with autism, I have a child in different challenges, what can I do? So this is information that we really need to get out to the world. So we have 2 real strong goals. One is to do research. We're looking for funding for research. We're looking for funding for growth and development so that we can support parents to come to trainings. We can support core specialists to come to trainings. We can just continue to give a base so that we can disperse this information accurately through a very well-planned organization.
Yeah. What sort of research do you want to explore?
All kinds of research. We're doing a lot right now with neurotransmitters. We're finding unprecedented results with improvement of neurotransmitters. We're finding improvement in brainwave mapping, and we're wanting to just research. We're going to be doing some research with Down syndrome with a university, and we're wanting to connect with universities because this is going to give the opportunity to explore something that they've never seen before. Because as I say, this is the missing link. This is an approach that is creating solutions and outcomes that people have never seen, and so it will demand research to show why this is happening.
Right. Now, Dr. Masgutova actually has the headquarters here in the United States in Orlando, Florida. I've been to that center, and it's just
lovely.
Magnificent.
Yes.
And to see the joy on the faces of these children and the parents.
Yes.
You have what you call a graduation ceremony, right?
Yeah.
At the conferences, and the people come. I met people who had flown in from Australia,
right?
Even here to your conferences, and it's just it's quite a testament to what you do.
Yes, I was just at a conference in Holland, and we had, I think, 7 countries represented, either from the people who are working or the families that came in. So it's definitely information that everybody is excited about.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, it's just been wonderful to talk to you and have you.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you for explaining everything to our audience.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I hope that people will take advantage. And if anybody does want to become a core specialist, what do they do? How do they contact?
Contact the website, the masgutovamethod.com or the masgutovafoundation.net.
.net or .org?
.org. You're correct. I'm so glad you're here.
Sometimes of a little value. Anyway, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Pamela.
Barry. Okay.
Yeah, and I want to mention too that I've written a book. It's called Barry ZeVAN, My Life Among the Giants, and the dear Jerry Stiller, my dear friend, urged me to write the book. It's about my very eclectic life. Pamela has read the book.
Yes, indeed.
And she's
it's
still
wonderful.
breathing. Thank goodness. So if you want that, it's available on Amazon.com. Well, this concludes our very first program, FYI, with Barry ZeVAN. If you have any suggestions as to whom you'd like to see interviewed and what subjects you'd like us to cover, please contact CCX. And in the interim, thank you so much for watching. And again, thanks to Pamela Curlee from the Masgutova Foundation for being here on this program. And Lord willing, we'll see you very, very soon on our next show, which will feature Rudy Maxa.
Looking for local? Even more local? CCX Media gives you the option to connect with your community on multiple levels. CCX Create welcomes you, community residents, to connect and experience television in an exciting way. The free TV classes we offer will have you on your way to creating TV, and our wide variety of content can be watched at home or on the go. Connect to what's happening in your community. Visit ccxmedia.org.